So we decided to take on the four corners on our motorcycle. Myself, Woe, and my boy Jay from New York. Started out pretty early. I think the sun was still stretching over the Gulf like an old sleepy giant, warming the edges of Tampa as we rolled out. Anyway, so we got on these bikes, man, and engine just was ready to go. Soon as the tires hit the pavement, off we go, and we don't know what was gonna happen. Definitely wasn't gonna be a race, but it was a slow dance with the road, where the tempo was pretty much dictated by curiosity and pretty much how the engine was gonna work for us. First stop for the day was like finding a pebble with a story. Smallest post office of the world. Pretty much it's nestled in the Everglades, unbeknownst to a lot of people, like a post stamp sized secret. The building stood no taller than a child's clubhouse, a white lone box amongst waving sawgrass and suspicious stares from nearby gators. Yeah, we got gators in Florida. We chased the horizon all the way to Key West, where the land finally gave up its seam and the sea won. So, a couple of these overseas highways stretch before us like they would never stop, man. It's like the silver thread that stitched into the Atlantic. It tied island to island, cloud to sea, dream to destination. For about 3 hours, we floated on concrete over the sea beneath us, and the wind was whispering salt and stories into our helmets. Time seems like it melted. Out there, the clocks don't even tick. They breathe salt water and salt air. As Florida faded behind us, the road began to show its teeth. South Carolina's sticky air, North Carolina shifting winds, Virginia, D.C. traffic like crazy. Hit us like soft punches. Nothing dangerous, but everything uncomfortable. Type of uncomfortableness or Baltimore passed in a blur of red brake lights and rusted overpasses. Philly, although they got good cheesesteaks, came and went like a gray cloud of noise and grit. Then came New York, the iron furnace of the eastern seaboard. The city didn't welcome us. It grabbed us by the throat and squeezed, and I'm talking about squeezed. Traffic was just terrible. River like a river of metal with no current. Just chaos. Horns was just everybody's forte. But we pressed forward, our hearts pounding, bikes still growling. By the time we crossed into Connecticut, it felt like we'd just escaped a siege. Moving along, past New England, cold front crept in like a thief. Heated suit blinked and failed. Good Lord, what's going on? Boston flashed by in a blur of headlights and wet pavement. Road was turning against us. That night, we finally pulled off, soaked, frozen, and hollowed out from 4 straight days in the saddle. 12 hours a day. We needed rest. Houlton, Maine. Checking the map, we still had 5 hours to Madawaska, our second corner. We were tired, weathered, worn, and soaked to the soul. This is going to be a really good story that we're going to write about, we said to each other. Damp clothes just didn't quite get too dry, so we were miserable. Still going northbound towards Madawaska, Maine, we rode into the crisp morning. As we climbed higher into Maine's far reaches, the towns began to drift apart like islands in a sea of forest and sky. Route 1 north unfolded like a ribbon of asphalt poetry. Each mile a stanza written in pine, rock, and wide skies. We arrived. Four Corners Park, a humble patch of land marking at one of the outermost edges of America's map, tucked just a breath away from the Canadian Customs Station. We took photos at America First Mile. At this point, we weren't just travelers. We were sketching our journey one state line at a time. But the day still wasn't done. We head south, the sun beginning its slow descent, 5 hours back to Houlton, and the road waited like a long exhale. Another 10 to 12 days in the saddle, but our spirits were full. 2 down, 2 more corners to go. I-90 west towards Cleveland, our final destination, Milwaukee, where as we moved along the roads, the rain came to us like curtains of nails, hammering us. This weather reared its ugly head. Adrenaline at a high, comfort at a low. We got through Cleveland, but there was no escape. With our phones shorted, USB ports drowned, we were road warriors, guided now by grit and ink on paper. Soaked, battered, and begging for heat. Finally, we pulled up to Milwaukee. Harley-Davidson, the birthplace of the growl. It stood before us like a cathedral of chrome and rebellion. Every bolt and display whispered the legend of Willie G. Davidson himself, the visionary who gave Harley its soul and swagger. As we walked the grounds, we started to dry off from our boots squishing with every step. Our hearts were warm. We touched the history, stood beside the iron legends, and felt the rumble of heritage under our feet. You know we had to take some selfies, and we got some souvenirs. We were there not just as bikers, but as believers in the power of the ride. That night I had to patch up my heated gear with a sewing kit. We're not going to discuss that right now. 35 degrees the next morning, rain sank into our bones. Our sights set on South Dakota, where monuments and legend carved in stone awaited our arrival. "35 degrees the next morning, rain sank into our bones. Our sights set on South Dakota, where monuments and legend carved in stone awaited our arrival." The closer we got to Chamberlain, South Dakota, the weather turned against us. The rain felt like needles, the kind that get inside your jacket and make you question your sanity. Yet even through the gray, we saw her, destiny in all her beauty. The massive sculpture of a Native American woman standing tall and powerful over the Missouri River, her robe flowing, palms raised to the heavens. She stood like a sentinel, untouched by the storm, a reminder of what strength and pride look like in the face of nature's indifferences. I-90 West took us straight to Mount Rushmore. Boots still heavy with water, thick white fog everywhere, swallowed the whole mountain. Couldn't see a damn thing. Next thing we know, we're racing against time to beat the fog before it hit the pavement. Sturgis was a little more than a postcard stop to us. It's a snapshot of the legendary land without the crowd that we encountered, which there was really nobody there at the time. The true ride, the real story lay beyond where the horizon unfolded like a worn map. We took off westward again as our Harley Davidsons howled through Wyoming's wide open lungs, chasing shadows and the ever so stretched out I-90 west. Montana came, and with it came a blessing. The sky was a cathedral of blue, and the 60-degree breeze wrapped around us like well-worn leather jackets. I can tell you the ride felt elevated, not just in our elevation, but in spirit. We were literally on top of the world at this point, as our tires carved through mountain passes like the signatures on love letters to no one but the land. The road stretched out like an open hand, guiding us westward with the promise of the Pacific Northwest within reach. Spokane, Washington danced on the edge of the horizon like a mirage. But I can tell you that, man, it wasn't long before the road reminded us of our roads. Pine trees thickened like green guardians of the north. Rolling hills turned into turning veins through the landscape. And the highway narrowed, of course, into 2 lanes of opportunity and definitely threat. Semi-truck thunders past us, steel beasts hauling the bones of America's economy, blind to anything that didn't weigh 20 tons or crossing into Washington state felt like definitely sneaking into a stronghold through the back door. The national forest wrapped around us like a coiled serpent, its curves pulling us upward, onward, and deeper into the heart of the Pacific Northwest. Each bend in the road was a whisper, each gust of wind a challenge. We stopped for gas, regrouped, looked the guys in the eyes, finally dried off. We're weary, but we still ready to go. I told them we weren't far from Blaine, our third corner, and suddenly their engines didn't sound tired anymore. The road to Blaine welcomed us like an old friend, dry, clear, empty, and absolutely perfect in our eyes. As we rolled into Blaine, we hugged the edge of the Canadian border and found our mark, the third corner. The northwest edge of our map-made mission. We took photos, breathed in the pine-heavy air, and let it settle in. That's 3 corners down, 1 to go. Leaving Blaine, we made a quick stop into Seattle Space Needle, took some photos, of course, captured a moment, and we head to Tacoma, where the traffic was a steady river, neither rushing torrent nor stagnant pool, flowing with a rhythm that kept us moving, breathing with the pulse of the road. We paused to tether our journey to friendship, stepping ashore to greet some old companions as we reminisced about the old days of riding together. We enjoyed our friends, but as the winds of fate shifted cruelly, just weeks after our meeting, Ray's light was extinguished in a sudden instant, in a car accident nevertheless, that carved a shadow where laughter once lived. We're now gliding through Tacoma as the road stretched before us like a silver ribbon, unraveling into the horizon smooth and generous. The skies held their breath. No rain. Well, very little. Just a creeping chill that whispered at our necks like an omen. We saw it coming, and we were prepared for it as we dressed ourselves in our cold weather armor. Even though when it arrived, it still struck us with the ferocity of winter's fist. Oregon's breath turned sharp as broken glass, slicing through gear and bone. 40 degrees clawed into us, and by the time we entered the spine of Northern California, winding into the arms of Mount Shasta, we were shadows braced against the cold once again. This trip has reminded us that heat gear can only work for so long. We stopped and took pictures at the California state line, thinking about getting to our last and fourth corner, San Ysidro. It just reminded us that we still had the intestinal fortitude to keep going, as we just came out of the cold weather. It seemed like the roads were never ending, but we were determined to get down to the southern part of California and end this four-corner mission. Then just past Red Bluff, the world flipped. Like stepping from a freezer into a furnace, the temperature plunged to 96 degrees. The heat wrapped itself around us like a wolf's mouth, panting relentless. We pulled into a gas station, shedding layers like old skin, watching our heated gear become old relics of another world. We pressed forward, nervous, now warriors in the fire. California's famed lane splitting welcomed us with open jaws, part dragon, part maze. Some drivers parted like the Red Sea, while others clung stubbornly to their lanes. We threaded the needle as best as we can with our nerves taut, senses sharpened to a steel, as we had to remember that we're not from the West Coast, but we're from the East Coast, where most of us don't lane split as professionally as these California riders. Sacramento arrived like an oasis, early and forgiving, that gave us time to ride straight into Oakland, where familiar arms greeted us like long-lost kin. We paid homage in sacred ground, Huey Newton Park, tucked deep in the beating heart of West Oakland. The spirit of revolution seemed to murmur from every corner as we walked through the halls of the original Black Panther Party Museum, history pressing its hand on our shoulders. Our wheels found rhythm again over the San Francisco-Oakland Bay Bridge, a steel harp strung between cityscapes. Through Fisherman's Wharf we rode, under the curious gauge of tourists like statues with flashing cameras, then onto the Golden Gate Bridge itself, its towers slicing the sky like crimson fangs. Crossing it felt like shedding a layer of time, a stark reminder of lives paused. We stopped off, of course, rode down the old military barracks to the underside of the bridge where we took some pictures, met up again with some more friends as we watched the waves crashed against the big rocks with the frigid waters, and still try to figure out how three men escaped Alcatraz Island, as the folklore says. Los Angeles rose in the distance like a mirage made real. We pressed on to San Ysidro, the final southern pillar of our Four Corners run. A rear tire replacement at Huntington Harley Davidson couldn't stop us. We beat the sunset and made it to San Ysidro border by dark. And in that moment, standing at the edge of a nation, we didn't just ride our motorcycles. We carried stories, sweat, spirits, and the silent ghost of the road. Mission accomplished on day 11. High on the accomplishment and adrenaline, we still had ground to cover. 3 days to Tampa, and Jay had miles that he had to ride towards New York afterwards. On the 12th day, we latched onto I-10 eastbound like a lifeline. The road pulled us steadily toward Jacksonville, which was another 2 days out. Phoenix greeted us like a furnace cracked wide open. Temperatures clawing into the high 90s, the sun pressing down like a blacksmith's hammer. Tucson shimmered on the horizon, and traffic flowed like a lukewarm stream, never calm, never chaotic. Every 200 miles, though, we had to pull over, fuel the beast beneath us, and pour Gatorade and water into our weary system. From Arizona, the road spat us into the dust of the winds of El Paso. Definitely after passing through New Mexico. We didn't flinch. Motivation gripped us like the reins in the hands of determined riders. We carved through it, spirits high, sweat pouring, engine singing. In a little town called Marfa, we veered off the spine of the journey to capture a memory. Prada in the desert. Who could have thought of that? That strange art relic frozen in time, a photo stop, a wrong turn, an hour lost to the sand and silence. I could have swallowed my apology whole, but it wouldn't have been enough. I saw it in their eyes. The boys ached to be home. Still, they didn't hold it against me. The mission was bigger than one misstep. Back on track, I-10 East. When the Louisiana sign rose like a flag of victory, we exhaled. The beast of Texas was behind us. But just as we thought we'd shaken every trial from our boots, Mother Nature cackled and opened the sky. Louisiana didn't greet us with parades. It baptized us. Rain slashed down like a curtain of needles, soaking us through, mocking our sense of completion. We pressed on through Mississippi winding veins and into Alabama. As we cruised through the traffic while going through the George Wallace underwater tunnel in Mobile, Alabama. To our right, as we pressed on, we saw the USS Alabama that stood like a sentinel of steel, watching over our passage as we crossed the long skeleton spine of the Jubilee Parkway towards Florida, the Sunshine State. Our brother, Woe, carved through Louisiana with fire in his veins. His hunger to get home lit the path, and we followed him, matching fervor. One more day, one more sunrise. Nothing would stop us. Not heat, not fatigue, not even time. Eyes forward, engine hot. We focus on only one thing that mattered now: get home safely. I-10 bled into I-75 south, a seamless river carrying us closer to home. Motivation surged through our veins like wildfire. Jay's eyes burning with the pull of New York skyline, Woe's heart locked on Tampa, and mine riding alongside, all bound by the same relentless drive. Night fell fast, a shadowy specter, whispering doubts, as if the darkness itself dared to say, "You won't make it home tonight." But we knew better. We were warriors, carved from the road, unyielding in our resolve. Nothing, no storm, no fatigue, no looming shadow could break us at this point. 14 days stolen from the relentless grind of life, 11,500 miles etched into our souls, a tapestry woven with grit, laughter, and sheer will. We battled sleep's siren call, the biting cold, unrelenting rain, scorching heat, and moments when motivation nearly slipped through our fingers like sand. But we held on. We conquered the wild American highways and byways, collecting stories that will roar from the lips of our children and grandchildren for generations to come. How many can say they circled the United States on a motorcycle? This journey was no mere trip. It was a legend in motion. Bucket list? Yep, we checked it.